Hello and welcome to World of Tanks, the arcadey, historical, visual looking tank simulator, arcade game you could say, by wargaming.net. Now when I say simulator, it's not actually a 100% realistic simulator. That's where the arcade bit came in. It's historical accurate to a visual look of the tank. So these tanks are 100%, as far as I'm aware, historical, accurate looking tanks. The arcade pack comes in with a gameplay. So even though these tanks look 100% like the ones in real life, the gameplay obviously alters some of it to make it more friendly towards casual players. Now, World of Tanks itself, it's been out, I believe, a year and a half now. It was officially released in April 2011, last year. And the reason I'm doing this video is not because, well, I'm really late. It is because of, well, the update that's just come out, 8.1 I believe, has finally released the British nation as a playable nation. And I've been waiting for this since, well, the release of the game. Actually, no, since a pre-beta. I heard about it, I got told other nations were coming. Brits finally came as the 5th nation in the game, unfortunately. So I'm just going to explain into it. So, when the game was released, there were 3 nations available. There was the USSR, the USA, and the Germany. Now, afterwards, after a few months, the French came out, and then a few months down the line, just, well, a couple of days ago, the Brits came out, the UK tech tree. Now, to explain about the tanks, a few of these tanks you will know. So if I look at these, the Churchill Mark 1, Mark 7, Cromwell, Comet, Black Prince, some of these tanks you will know. Other tanks you will not know. Look at the French tech tree, for instance. The French didn't really participate much in World War II, after the fact when they surrendered, after a few months. But you will notice all these tanks. You'll be like, well, you may ask the question, well, how can all these tanks have existed when, there were no French army really? Now, the reason for this is because not all these tanks were actually really made. Some of these are prototypes, some of these are just designs. So a few of these tanks did not actually even exist in real life. They were just designs and prototypes of the tank. So that's the reason why some of these may look completely weird. They're not made up. They actually have actual really blueprints of the actual tanks, but they just never were made. You look at some of these and it's like, oh, what the hell? It's like, you look at some of the German tanks, you didn't even know some of these existed. You get your famous Panzer IV, you get Panzer III, but there's a Panzer III-4 here. I didn't know that existed. There's a VK281. Didn't know that existed. There's a Lowy tank. Didn't know that existed. There's Panther II. I knew that. Panther. You got your Tiger, Tiger 2, your Jag Tiger. Some of these tanks you will recognise straight off the bat. The Hetzer, the Stug, Marder 2. But then other tanks you'll be like, well, I didn't know about that one, or 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 any of these later tanks. I know about the Mouse though. Now, it's, like I said, it's historical to its day degree. All these tanks would have existed, or were blueprints of them. It's not they just made them up, as a few people actually believe. Now, the way the tech tree works in this game, you can play as any nation. You don't have to pick a nation and stick with that nation throughout. You can pick and choose between different nations. You have slots for each tank you can pick, so you can pick randomly which tank you want. But the way the tech tree works now, this is interesting. If I take the Brits for example, because they've only just recently come out, you may notice actually the other classes, or the other nations have more splits in their tier tree, and that's because there's most of these are actually all full. The Brits have only been released, they only released the light medium tree, and then they released the heavy tree. But in the game there is 5 classes of tank, or 4 plus a 1. There's a light tank, a medium tank, a heavy tank, a tank destroyer, and an SPG. Now I said 4 plus 1 because the SPG I don't really class as a tank, but obviously in this game it apparently does. Now, light tank. fast, manoeuvrable, quickest tank in the game. Not very good armor, not very good, gun, but makes up in speed and manoeuvrability. Medium tank, an all-round tank. It's just basically your standard tank. Not as heavy, not as quick as the light tank, but faster than the heavy tank. Decent gun and decent armor. Heavy tank, really slow, bad turning speed, not very slow tank in general. Best armor, best gun. Tank destroyer. Again, the same as the heavy tank. Some of them can be fast, some of them can not be. Best gun in the game. They have the best frontal armor, but they don't have very good side or back armor. So they do have the vulnerability of if you flank them, they can take them out. They don't have a turret as well, so they can't rotate the gun. Well, some of them don't. Obviously, so a few exceptions is the M10 and a few others as well, which have a turret, and they're the American tank destroyers. And then there's the SPG, which is basically your support class. It is a class that sits at the back of the map and lobs shells and support to take out the heavy tanks, and designed to, well, eliminate camping, but I'm not going to go there. It's a fine line when you start talking about SPGs, because there is a fine discussion at the moment about if they're OP and how to balance them and all this kind of mumbo jumbo. There was actually quite a lot in the game where a lot of people were saying it were OP because of a few reasons, but I'm not going to go into it. Now, going back into the unlock system, if you have different tanks, so obviously there's an entire tech tree here, as you can see. If I left click on this Mark 1, the MK1 tank, it'll take me further into the tree. So it's like going a lot closer, so you look at this specific tanks tree. So, as you can see, there's 5 different equipment gear slots, you can say. There's the gun, there's the turret, there's the suspension, the engine, and the radio. Now, each one has different tiers. So all these ones here are all level 1. As you can see in the top left of each picture, there's actually level 1. So this is level 1, level 2, level 1, level 2, level 2. Now all these mean this gun is better than this one overall. It doesn't mean it's better completely, it just means it's an overall better gun. So say this radio here. This radio is worse than this radio, but this weighs 40 times more. So this weighs 40 kilograms, this only weighs 1 kilogram. So, and weight does actually affect the tank itself, so you do have to keep an eye on that. Like, you can't equip the best gun, the best turret, the best radio, and the best engine without actually increasing your tonnage. So that's actually something taking effect. All these equipment actually affect your tank's attributes and stats. So if I go back to the garage, and you see in this right hand corner here, try and get it into the best view I can. That should be alright. All these stats get affected by what equipment you have. So obviously hit points get affected, weight, load, engine power, speed, traverse speed, hull, turret armor, standard shell damage, standard penetration, rate of fire, turret traverse speed, view range, and signal range all get affected by what equipment you have. Now there is base attributes which you start out with, which some of these have. Say this this turret, that's basic, but I can increase it. But there is a slight effect between. If you look at the stats, there's this. It has the exact same armor and it has the exact same view range, but this one, the top tier one, the tier 6, I believe, actually has worse degrees turning. But this can actually house heavier guns, so some of these I can't actually equip. So you've got to pick, you've got to choose your playstyle and what suits you. Now, going back into the tech tree and explaining the tiers. Now, each tech tree goes from 1 to 10. So as you can see, 1 to 10, going to the USA, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. I'll just stay on the Brits because it's just been released and it's probably easiest to explain because there's not as many tanks. Now, going into tanks themselves in the tier tree, basically the way it works is each tank is in a specific tier. So obviously this is the first one, this is tier 1, so this will get ranked with tier 1 tanks. And as you get further up, the spread of the tier in a match gets increasingly bigger depending on what tank you're in. So the top end light tank, actually I'm going to take a T50 for this case. Where is it? Because this tank is probably a very good tank, this tank will actually not get put in any less than a tier, I think, a tier 4 game. So the tank can range from tier 4 to tier 10. That's how bad this tank can actually range from. But it's a very good overall tank. It's very quick, very movable, and very good gun, but not very good hit points. And it can actually deflect quite a lot of projectiles if it hits on the slopes. Now, we're going into the business model of this game. This is a free-to-play game, so you don't have to worry about you have to pay for the game. It's free-to-play, but there is an in-game currency which you have to pay money for to actually get access to, which is the gold. Now, obviously, I have some. I've got 11,300. 11,300, I'm going to say. Now, there's two kinds of currency you could say. There's credits, which I'm going to say silver, because it looks silver, and your gold. Your silver you just earn by playing the game. You get it by just playing in matches. Gold is what you have to buy with real money. Now, don't worry, this is not a pay-to-win game, as some people make out. There is stuff which you used to be able to buy, but they actually changed it recently, if I go into it. Ammunition, there's 3 types, quickly. There is a standard round. You get your high explosive round, which has less penetration, but if it penetrates, does significant damage. It's good versus when you're versing a rear armor or someone who's got light armor. And then you've got your armor penetrating. Now these are the ones that offer the best penetration, but do the exact same damage. So if you look, it offers more penetration, but does the same 56 and 94 damage. Now these you only used to be able to pay gold for these, but they're expensive. In what you have to pay for them. I think 5 gold is actually quite a lot per round. You could burn through, with this tank, you could burn through so many rounds in the game. I could probably burn through 30 rounds. Now, figure that out. 30 rounds times by 5, and it works out staggering. That's 150 gold. That's quite a lot of money just for one game. But now you can actually buy them with silver, but again they're still expensive, so you've got to watch what you do. You can still buy the high penetrating rounds, but they will cost you a fair bit of money. Again, you can buy consumables. Now you do have access to some of them straight away with just silver. You can get them, these bottom ones, with silver, but the top ones cost gold. Now I don't get these. I think these ones I've only got because I actually got given it to me. So this has actually come from a bonus code that's just come out because they've won golden joystick award or something. So yeah, so these top ones you can buy with gold, but I wouldn't recommend. I don't know. Sometimes you might think they're worth it, but I don't. So I don't go anywhere near them. Now, this game in general, people say it is a MMO. It's not. I would not say it's a subgenre of MMO. You think of standard MMOs as Guild Wars 2, WoW, EVE Online, Rift, and all them. They're all MMOs you'd normally think of as you play with thousands of people online, and you see all these people online. The way World of Tanks works is it's still an MMO. You see these people online, but you don't actually play with 100 people in the same game. The game works out as a 15 versus 15, or in your case, there's you and 14 teammates versus 15 other people on the opposite team. Now, that's what I'm saying, it's a subgenre MMO. It's not your typical kind, but it's still an MMO in its general sense, so it's one of those weird ones. Going back onto the gold issue anyway, you can buy looks for your tank for gold. Now, these actually now apply a little slight camouflage bonus, but not by much. I think it's like, is it 2%? At the moment I've got a few of these equipped. I believe you can actually put emblems on your tank as well if you want to pay for them. There's cosmetics now, and insignias and all this kind of cool stuff. So there is different stuff you can put on. Again, there's 2 for each one. There's camouflage, emblem 1 and 2, emblem 3 and 4, or 1 and 2 as well. So you can put emblems on each side of your tank, and stuff like that. Now, slots. You start with a basic number of slots, and if you you will earn more slots if you pay gold for them. This is the way, you know, they've got to earn money somehow. This is how they do it. So I've got all these slots. Most of these I bought with actual gold. I think you start with like 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that. I don't believe how many now because it's been that long since I've actually started off, but I've got quite a few slots. I think I've got about 14 slots plus another 4 vacant, and you can buy more slots for 300 gold, which is not a lot. It's they've got to make the money somehow. Now, going back onto the experience category, if you look here, I go back to my, if you elite a vehicle by basically researching everything for a particular tank, your vehicle becomes elite. Now this elite means you can do 2 things. You can increase your crew's level. You can increase them and get them more experience, which if I go to my, where's my T59, where is it? Come on, it's probably right at the front, so this is going to be quite fun. If I type 59, it has this little slot, this tick box appears basically saying because this is an elite tank, you can accelerate crew training, and it basically says all experience earned on this vehicle will be distributed towards crew training. Least experienced crew member will be trained twice as quick. So obviously they're all the same level, so they'll train just as quick as the other ones. I think it's more or less for that, is just so the least experienced one will catch up quicker. Now, the second one is you can use free experience. So you earn experience on a tank, and say you still play this tank, you've got loads of experience, you can pay gold to have this experience transferred into free experience, which then you can use on any tank, to research equipment or research a tank. But you've got to pay gold for it. So if I want to transfer 5,000 XP, it's going to cost me 200 gold, but I get that 5,000 XP free experience. So then I can use it in any tank. So if I wanted to go, well, I'm just going to go into Tech Tree, I want to research more British tank, I can research some more bits and pieces if I wanted. So, you know, it'll help towards actually researching the next tier of tank. Now, as the way there is progressive, as you can see, when you come into a ranked game, I think you will be at a disadvantage because you will go against people who have tanks which are fully unlocked. You will come against that. But you can still win against them, it just means they're going to have more powerful stuff. So the turret might have more armour than you, or they might have a bigger gun than you, even though they're exact same tank. It just means they've unlocked that tank further down in the tech tree. So you will come across games where you feel quite frustrated because you can't do anything against a tank which is exactly the same as you, but you're like, how the hell can't I penetrate? But he can penetrate you. That's because he's probably got a bigger gun than you. So don't get frustrated by stuff like that. Now going back to the garage, I'm going to wrap up quickly. I've already explained everything. There is these accessory slots, I'm going to call them. Now, some of these you can, if you see this little nut here, or you might call it something different if you're in America. God knows what you actually call it, but I'll call it a nut anyway. These ones mean if you mount them, you'll have to use gold to demount them, or you'll have to destroy them. So, say these binocular telescope, you can mount it for 500 gold, not gold, that'd be bloody fortune, 500 silver credits, but it will not cost you anything to demount it. You can demount that one, the toolbox, and the camouflage netting free of charge. You can just equip and unequip them willy-nilly. These ones, however, the ones with the gold nut, you have to actually pay for dismounting. So, if I say, we'll look at some of the one I've got equipped. I've got this improved ventilation class 2. In plus 5% skills to all crew, but it will cost me 10 gold to remove it, and if I don't want to pay that, I'll have to destroy it. So if you don't have the gold, you will actually lose it. So the best way to actually do this is, if you actually want to get rid of a specific ventilation, a specific accessory, make sure you earn enough money to replace it with something else. Otherwise you'll be a slight disadvantage, not by much. These don't increase it by that much, but these small effects can actually mean a difference in a game. You know, 10% load speed can mean the difference between you getting an extra shot off over your enemy than the enemy shooting you. So if you fire 10 shots, well, let's put it this way, if you and your enemy fire 10 shots and you've got this minus 10% load speed, you're going to fire that extra shot off before he can fire one off. So, you know, it might affect you in a game. So that does come into fact later on. Consumables, come in again. These will increase certain aspects again with the gold and that, so you don't have to pay them. It doesn't really mean much. It just means if someone has like say it's large repair equipment, it basically just means they can repair stuff a bit quicker. That's basically it now. If you have a small one, it means you just repair one thing. That's it. But with a large one, you can repair everything that's damaged. There is modules of your tank, but I will go into that in the next video because I think I'm going to end it here because I'm going a bit on. So the next video is going to be gameplay of the tank, and I'll explain a bit more about the tank because there is a bit of a wind-up period as you wait to actually get all the players loading into the game. So for now I'm going to leave it here. I hope I've explained everything. I'll actually quickly go into the office, these crew here. Crew will level up over time, and if I go into personal file and have a look, you can, if you want, you can name them personal data. It will cost you some gold though, but you can name them what you want. Give them different avatars and all this kind of stuff. And then once you get to 100% on the skill lot, you can actually unlock a skill or perk. Obviously I've got some unlocked already, but once you get 100% you can actually start unlocking some of them, and some of them don't become active till you get that skill to 100%, so you've got to keep that in mind. But basically you get a crew to 100% and it'll actually increase, say a gunner, it increases load speed, a gunner will increase his aiming speed and all this kind of stuff, and the loader increases loading speed, so it'll be quicker at loading a weapon. So having high level crew members is good for your tank, but be wary that these people are actually trained for a specific tank. So if you start moving across from, say, one medium tank to another, it won't affect it that badly. But if you start affecting why you start switching in between classes, like if you switch from a light to an SPG, for instance, it will affect their stats quite badly. So you've got to keep that in mind when you're having crew. Again, each tank has different amount of crew members. So some have 2, some have 6, some have. So look at this one. This has only got 2 crew members, and I believe my highest tier, my IS3, has 5. No, 4. I think one has 5. The KV2 has 6 members, 2 loaders, a gunner, a radio man, a driver, and a commander. So you know, there's a few different crew members. I don't know if there's an advantage to having more crew members in a tank. I don't know how it works out, but each one affects your tank basically. Each crew member's level. So keep that in mind. But I believe that's it for now. I hope I haven't missed anything. I hope not. Otherwise I'll have to come back and do another video going over what I've missed. Oh, quickly. There is premium, which you can pay for with real money. It doesn't give you an advantage over the general sense. It just gives you, I think, a slight percentage more XP gain and experience gain in a match. That's all that does. It doesn't give you an advantage. You obviously extend. I got that for free. Don't worry, I didn't pay for that. That's actually a bonus code that's just run out, I believe. Basically 50% extra credits and experience per battle. So you've got it. It's not double, but it's like you're getting an extra quarter a battle. So I believe that's it. So this is World of Tanks. I'm going to show you some gameplay footage next time. Hopefully this video isn't too long. I hope not. It's kind of hard keeping track of time when you're explaining stuff because you don't want to cut short off and leave something half explained, because people will be like, what? What are you on about? And we'll probably don't want to tune into the next video. So if I've left anything, I apologise. I hope I've actually covered everything. And in the next game, next video, I'll go into some gameplay footage and show you around. So until then, guys, I will see you later. Please rate and subscribe, let me know what you think. And, well, until then, goodbye.